The stars shone brightly against the black canvas of space as the human transport ship glided toward the Vakari homeworld of Naxos. Inside the ship, Taiho Kim straightened his formal diplomatic uniform and checked his reflection in the polished surface of the viewport. His face showed no emotion, but his eyes were alert and watchful. "We will be landing in 10 minutes, Diplomat Kim," said the pilot over the intercom. "The Vakari Welcome Committee is already assembled in the Grand Hall." Taiho nodded to himself. This meeting had been planned for months. Earth had only recently revealed its faster-than-light travel capabilities to the galactic community, making humans the newest potential members of the Galactic Coalition. The Coalition had existed for almost 3,000 years and included 17 star systems with hundreds of planets. "Remember your training," Taiho whispered to himself. Calm, respectful, but never submissive, the ship descended through the swirling clouds of Naxos. The planet's surface came into view, sprawling cities of angular metal structures that reflected the light of the system's twin suns. Taiho had studied the Vakari extensively. They were tall, muscular beings with tough gray skin and 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern on their faces. They were known throughout the galaxy as fierce warriors and served as the Coalition's elite soldiers and peacekeepers. The transport landed softly on the designated platform. Taiho took a deep breath and picked up his diplomatic case. Inside were Earth's formal documents requesting membership in the Coalition, along with gifts from Earth's leaders. As the ship's door opened, he stepped out into the warm air of Naxos. Line of 20 Vakari soldiers stood at attention, their polished armor gleaming in the sunlight. At their center stood Commander Do-Yun, the highest-ranking military officer on Naxos, and the one who would lead the diplomatic talks. "Welcome to Naxos, Diplomat Kim," said Do-Yun in the common galactic language. His voice was deep and rumbling. "We hope your journey was pleasant." Taiho bowed slightly. "Thank you for your welcome, Commander Do-Yun. The journey was smooth and comfortable." Do-Yun's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of mild surprise. Perhaps he had expected humans to be more impressed by interstellar travel. He did not know that Earth had been secretly developing its technology for decades, careful to hide its true progress from the watching eyes of the galaxy. "Please follow me to the Grand Hall," said Do-Yun. "The other representatives of the Coalition are eager to hear Earth's petition." They walked through wide corridors made of polished green stone. Vakari citizens stopped to stare at Taiho as he passed. Humans were rarely seen on Naxos. To many of the Vakari, humans seemed weak and fragile with their soft skin and simple 2 eyes. Among the honor guard walking behind them was Jinwoo, a young Vakari soldier who had only recently earned his place in the elite guard. Jinwoo's hand rested on his plasma rifle, and his eyes never left the back of Taiho's head. 2 years ago, Jinwoo's brother had been killed during a border incident with a human exploration ship. The official report claimed it was an accident. The humans had strayed into restricted space and warning shots were fired. Somehow the human ship had responded with unexpected force, destroying the Vakari patrol vessel with all hands lost. Jinwoo did not believe it was an accident. In his heart, he knew the humans were more dangerous than they appeared. And now, here they were, asking to join the Coalition as if they belonged among the civilized species of the galaxy. The Grand Hall of Naxos was an enormous circular chamber with a high domed ceiling painted to show the known galaxy. Representatives from 12 Coalition species sat in elevated seats around the walls. In the center was a speaking platform where petitioners would present their cases. Commander Do-Yun guided Taiho to the platform. "You may begin when ready." "Diplomat Kim." Taiho placed his case on the small table provided and opened it. He removed a crystal data drive and handed it to the nearest Coalition official. "Honored representatives of the Galactic Coalition," Taiho began, his voice clear and strong despite the vastness of the hall. "I come before you as an emissary of Earth and all humanity. For centuries we have watched the stars and dreamed of taking our place among the great civilizations of the galaxy." Jinwoo shifted his weight from one foot to another, his hand tightening on his weapon. "Earth has now developed the technology required for membership in the Coalition," continued Taiho. "Our faster-than-light drives have allowed us to establish Colonies on 7 planets within our home system. We have peaceful relations with the Meridian and Klaxari peoples, who have spoken in support of our petition. This was true, though Tejo did not mention how surprised these neighboring species had been at humanity's sudden technological leap. What had appeared to be a slow-developing planet had suddenly produced ships capable of crossing vast distances, in days rather than months. We bring with us a rich cultural heritage, advanced medical knowledge, and unique perspectives that we believe will benefit all members of the coalition, said Tejo. Earth seeks not dominance, but partnership. Not conquest, but cooperation. As Tejo spoke about human achievements and hopes for the future, Jinwu's anger grew. He saw only the face of his dead brother, imagined the final moments as the human weapons tore through the hull of his ship. The humans spoke of peace while hiding their true nature. Tejo reached the end of his formal address. And so, representatives of the Galactic Coalition, Earth formally requests consideration for membership among your honored ranks. We await your judgment with respect and hope. He bowed deeply to the assembled representatives. There was a polite murmur of discussion among them. Commander Do-yoon stepped forward to offer the formal response. Diplomat Kim, we thank you for your petition. The coalition will consider Earth's request with all due. In that moment, Jinwu could contain his rage no longer. He stepped forward, from the honor guard line, raising his plasma rifle in one smooth motion. His 4 eyes locked onto Tejo's back. For my brother, he shouted as he pulled the trigger. Time seemed to slow. The blue plasma bolt cut through the air toward the human diplomat. At the last possible second, Tejo shifted his weight, perhaps sensing the danger. The shot missed him by the width of a finger, instead striking the ceremonial shield mounted on the wall behind the platform. The ancient metal melted instantly, dripping onto the floor in glowing puddles. Chaos erupted in the grand hall. The other honor guards tackled Jinwu to the ground, wrenching the weapon from his hands. Coalition representatives rose from their seats, some calling for order, others already leaving the hall. Commander Do-yoon's face had turned a pale gray, the Vicari equivalent of going white with shock. Through it all, Tejo remained standing, on the platform seemingly unfazed by the attempt on his life. He straightened his uniform and looked directly at Do-yoon. Commander, he said calmly, I request a brief recess to contact my government regarding this incident. Do-yoon, still stunned, could only nod in agreement. Tejo walked unhurriedly from the grand hall, finding a private communication room. He activated his secure link to Earth and waited only moments for the connection. This is unfortunate, Tejo said into the device, his voice still perfectly composed. But I'm unharmed. Please inform Command that Protocol Omega is now in effect. He closed the communication channel and checked the time. In exactly 2 hours, the fate of Naxos would be decided. Deep beneath the Himalayan mountains on Earth, General Soo-jin Lee stood in the command center of Human Defense Command. The room was large and circular, with screens covering every wall. Officers moved quickly between stations, their faces serious and focused. Soo-jin watched the main screen as it displayed a message from Diplomat Tejo Kim. His face showed no fear despite what had just happened. Protocol Omega is now in effect, said Tejo's recorded message. The attempt was made by a Vicari honor guard during the formal presentation. I was not harmed. Soo-jin turned to her staff. Her uniform was simple but perfectly neat, with 4 small stars on each shoulder. Her hair was pulled back tightly, showing a face that rarely smiled. Protocol Omega is confirmed, she announced in a clear voice. Begin the countdown. We have exactly 115 minutes. A large digital timer appeared on the main screen. 1:55 like, then 1:54:59, then 1:54:58. The countdown had begun. Contact all human ships in the Vicari system, ordered Soo-jin. Tell them to leave immediately. Use emergency departure codes. A young officer named Han Sol nodded and began sending the messages. What about Diplomat Kim, General? He knows the protocol, said Soo-jin. His ship is already prepared for immediate departure. Around Earth, systems that had remained hidden for years suddenly activated. In orbit, What appeared to be normal satellites changed. Hidden panels opened, revealing advanced weapons and propulsion systems. What the Coalition thought were simple communication stations were actually powerful warships in disguise. Earth had kept its true power secret. When humans first discovered they were not alone in the galaxy, they had made a difficult choice. They would appear friendly but weak while building their defenses in secret. They had shown the Coalition their faster-than-light travel, but had hidden their mastery of dimensional physics and quantum weapons. In a private office near the command center, Sujin met with the Earth Defense Council. 5 older men and women who made the final decisions about Earth's protection. "Is this necessary?" asked one council member, an old man with white hair. "One soldier made one mistake. Must an entire planet pay for it?" Sujin's face remained calm. "The protocol is clear. An attack on a diplomat is an attack on Earth itself. We must show the Coalition what happens when they allow violence against our people." Another council member spoke up. "The Vicari are the Coalition's warriors. If we show our strength against them, no one will dare threaten us again." The white-haired man sighed. "Very well. The protocol stands." Back on Naxos, Commander Do-Yun was facing the worst crisis of his long career. Jinwoo had been taken away in chains, but the damage was already done. The young soldier had broken the most sacred law of diplomacy by attacking an official representative during peace talks. Do-Yun hurried to find Tae-ho, who had returned to the meeting room after making his call to Earth. The human sat calmly at the table, looking at a small device in his hand. "Diplomat Kim," said Do-Yun, his voice strained with worry. "I cannot express how deeply I regret this incident. The soldier will be severely punished. His actions do not represent the Vicari, people or government." Tae-ho looked up slowly. His face showed no anger, which Do-Yun found strange. If a Vicari diplomat had been attacked on Earth, surely there would be rage and demands for justice. "My government accepts your apology," said Tae-ho in a flat voice. "However, I have been instructed to inform you that your planet has approximately 90 minutes remaining. I suggest you use that time wisely." Do-Yun blinked, all 4 eyes in confusion. "What do you mean by that statement, Diplomat Kim?" "You'll understand soon enough," replied Tae-ho, standing up from his chair. "Now, if you'll excuse me, my transport will be arriving shortly." Do-Yun watched as the human walked calmly toward the landing pad where his ship waited. He wanted to ask more questions, but something in Tae-ho's manner stopped him. Instead, he hurried to the Planetary Defense Center to report this strange conversation. In a secure holding cell, Jinwoo sat with his head in his hands. He did not regret trying to kill the human, only that he had failed. Now he would face execution for breaking diplomatic law, but he believed it was worth it to strike back for his brother. The door to his cell opened, and an intelligence officer named Ji-ho entered. Ji-ho was older than Jinwoo, with battle scars across his gray face. "Why did you do it?" asked Ji-ho, sitting across from the prisoner. "You must have known the consequences." Jinwoo looked up with defiance in all 4 eyes. "They are just humans, weak, fragile creatures who hide behind words and treaties. They killed my brother 2 years ago." "The border incident?" Ji-ho asked. "That was ruled an accident." "It was no accident," hissed Jinwoo. "My brother's last message said the humans fired first without warning. They are more dangerous than they appear." Before Ji-ho could respond, an alarm began to sound throughout the facility. A red light flashed in the ceiling of the cell. "What is happening?" asked Jinwoo. Ji-ho pressed a communication device on his wrist and listened to the report. His 4 eyes widened in shock. "I don't think you understand what you've done," he said quietly to Jinwoo. "Our sensors are detecting unusual energy signatures throughout the system. Energy readings unlike anything in our database. In orbit around Naxos, Tae-ho's diplomatic vessel rose quickly through the atmosphere. The pilot pushed the engines to maximum speed, heading toward the edge of the system. "Diplomat Kim," said the pilot, "we are being hailed by Naxos Command. They are demanding an explanation for the human fleet that has just appeared." Tae-ho checked the time. "Ignore them. Continue on course for the jump point. We have 71 minutes to clear the system. The pilot nodded and focused on the controls. Through the viewport, Tahoe could see the first ships of Earth's hidden fleet appearing. They seemed to fold into existence from nowhere, as if the fabric of space itself was opening to reveal them. Across the Vicari system, 30 massive warships appeared in perfect formation. They had always been there, hiding in pocket dimensions created by Earth's secret technology. Now they revealed themselves, their black hulls absorbing the light of Naxos's twin suns. On the flagship of Earth's defense fleet, Admiral Minho Park watched the countdown timer on his command screen. 1:08:45 and counting down. He was a tall man with a serious face and gray in his short hair. "Admiral, we've confirmed that Diplomat Kim's vessel has cleared the defense perimeter," reported his second-in-command. Minho nodded. "Begin final preparations for the dimensional collapse sequence. Confirm that no human vessels remain in the target zone." Officers around the bridge worked quickly at their stations. The ship hummed with power as systems charged for what would come next. "Sir," said a young officer, "we're detecting Vicari defense ships launching from the planet. They appear to be taking offensive positions." Minho almost smiled. "It doesn't matter. They can't stop what's coming." Earth had developed its defensive capabilities in secret after their first encounters with alien species revealed a universe far more dangerous than they had imagined. The humans had learned early that showing weakness invited aggression. Their strategy had been simple: present themselves as a technologically developing species, while secretly building weapons that could end entire civilizations. "All ships report." "Ready, Admiral," said the second-in-command. "The dimensional anchors are in position." Minho looked at the timer again. 1:02:33. 1 hour, he said quietly. "And then the galaxy learns why humans should never be threatened." Commander Do-Yoon ran through the wide corridors of the Naxos Defense Center. Emergency alarms sounded throughout the building. Vicari officers moved quickly between stations, their faces showing fear that Do-Yoon had never seen before. He burst into the main control room, a large circular chamber filled with screens and monitoring equipment. In the center was a three-dimensional display of the Naxos star system. What he saw made his four eyes widen in shock. 30 large ships had appeared around their planet. They were black, angular vessels, unlike any Do-Yoon had seen before. They were forming a perfect pattern around Naxos like a net ready to close. "Report," he demanded to the senior officer on duty. "Sir, the ships appeared suddenly, about 10 minutes ago," said the officer, her voice shaking slightly. "They match no known design in our database. We believe they are human vessels." "Impossible," said Do-Yoon. "Earth does not have this kind of fleet. Their technology is not advanced enough. The energy signatures are unmistakable, sir. They are human ships, and they are moving into formation around our planet." Do-Yoon remembered Taeho's strange words. "Your planet has approximately 90 minutes remaining." A cold feeling spread through his body. "Contact Coalition headquarters immediately," ordered Do-Yoon. "Request emergency assistance, and bring the prisoner Jinwoo to me now." In the holding cell, Jinwoo was watching the panic unfold through the small window in his door. Guards ran past, no longer paying attention to him. The alarms continued to blare throughout the facility. The door suddenly opened and Ji-ho entered with 2 armed guards. "You are being taken to the command center," said Ji-ho, his face serious. "Commander Do-Yoon wants to speak with you." As they walked through the corridors, Jinwoo saw screens showing the human ships surrounding their planet. He felt a strange mix of fear and satisfaction. Perhaps he had been right about the humans all along. When they arrived at the command center, Do-Yoon grabbed Jinwoo by the arm and pulled him to the central display. "Do you see what you've done?" he shouted, pointing at the human ships. "Your impulsive action may have doomed our entire world." Jinwoo stared at the display in shock. He had expected the humans to be angry, perhaps to demand his execution or even to break off diplomatic relations. But this, a fleet that seemed to appear from nowhere surrounding their planet? "I don't understand," said Jinwoo quietly. "How could they have such ships? Our intelligence reports showed nothing like this." They have been hiding their true capabilities, said Jiho, who had followed them into the room. The question is, why they are revealing them now? Du-yun turned to a communication officer. Any response from Coalition headquarters? Yes, Commander, replied the officer. They have received our distress call and are sending ships. But the nearest battle fleet is 3 hours away. Du-yun's face darkened. According to the human diplomat, they didn't have 3 hours. On the main human flagship, Admiral Minho Park watched as his ships moved into their final positions. The dimensional collapse equipment on each vessel was charging, drawing power from the specialized reactors that Earth had developed in secret. Sir, we're receiving multiple communication requests from the Vakari planet, reported his communication officer. They're demanding to know our intentions. Minho considered for a moment. Put them through on the main screen. Let them see who they've challenged. The screen lit up to show Commander Do-yun's face. The Vakari's 4 eyes were wide with a mix of anger and fear. This is Commander Do-yun of Naxos, he said, trying to keep his voice steady. Your actions are a direct violation of Coalition law. Withdraw your vessels immediately or face the consequences. Minho almost smiled at the empty threat. Commander, this is Admiral Minho Park of Earth Defense Fleet. We are responding to an act of war against Earth. One of your soldiers attempted to assassinate our diplomat during a peace mission. It was the action of one soldier, protested Do-yun. He has been arrested and will be punished according to our laws. There is no need for this show of force. Earth does not consider this a show of force, replied Minho calmly. We consider it an appropriate response to an attack on our sovereignty. Diplomat Kim activated Protocol Omega, which has been approved by our government. What is Protocol Omega? Asked Do-yun, dreading the answer. It is our response to any direct threat against Earth representatives, explained Minho. You have approximately 50 minutes remaining before it is fully implemented. Back on Earth, in the Human Defense Command Center, General Su-jin watched the conversation on her screen. Around her, officers monitored the status of the fleet and the charging dimensional collapse equipment. General, all civilian vessels have been evacuated from the Vakari system, reported Hansol. Our people are safe. Su-jin nodded in approval. Earth had quietly recalled its citizens over the previous week. Tourists, business representatives, and researchers had all been asked to return home for a special announcement. No one had questioned why Earth suddenly wanted its citizens to return. All systems are aligned, General, said her tactical officer. Dimensional collapse will initiate in 47 minutes. Su-jin's face showed no emotion, but inside she felt the weight of what they were about to do. An entire planet would soon disappear from the galaxy. Billions of lives would end in an instant. The Vakari chose violence against a diplomat under protection of interstellar law, she said quietly. The Coalition's own charter is clear about the consequences. We are simply enforcing that law. On Naxos, panic was spreading among the population. News of the human fleet had reached the public, and people were trying to leave the planet. Spaceports were crowded with frightened Vakari trying to find ships to escape. In the command center, Do-yun received a direct communication from the Coalition Security Council. Commander, said the Klaxari representative, a tall, insect-like being with compound eyes, we are aware of your situation. All available forces are being sent to your location, but they will not arrive for at least 2 hours. That will be too late, said Do-yun desperately. The humans say we have less than 50 minutes before they implement something called Protocol Omega. The Klaxari representative's mandibles clicked in surprise. Protocol Omega? Are you certain that is what they called it? Yes, confirmed Do-yun. Do you know what it is? The Klaxari was silent for a moment before responding. There were rumors, intelligence reports that we dismissed as impossible. The humans may have developed dimensional collapse technology. Do-yun felt his blood run cold. What does that mean? If the reports are true, said the Klaxari slowly, it means they can remove Naxos from normal space-time. The planet would be folded into a pocket dimension that will eventually collapse completely. In the holding area near the command center, Jin Woo sat with his head in his hands. Guards had returned him to a cell after his meeting with Do Yun. Through the small window he could see officers running past, their faces showing pure terror. "What have I done?" he whispered to himself. He had hated the humans for his brother's death. He had seen them as weak creatures hiding behind words and treaties. Now he understood the terrible truth. The humans weren't weak at all. They had been hiding their strength, waiting for someone to give them a reason to show it. And he had given them that reason. On the human flagship, Admiral Minho watched the timer count down, 33 minutes remaining. His ships were in perfect position, creating a geometric pattern around Naxos that would channel the dimensional energies correctly. "Admiral," said his second-in-command, "the Vakari are launching escape vessels. Civilians are trying to flee the planet." Minho shook his head. "It's too late. The dimensional field is already forming. Nothing can leave Naxos now." He looked at the blue-green planet on his screen. Soon it would be gone, erased from normal space as if it had never existed. The galaxy would learn that humanity's peaceful appearance hid a terrible power, and no one would dare attack a human diplomat ever again. The sky above Naxos turned strange colors as the human ships activated their dimensional technology. Streaks of purple and green light cut across the normally blue atmosphere. The twin suns seemed dimmer, as if something was absorbing their light. In the command center, Do Yun watched the countdown timer on the main screen. 25 minutes remained before whatever the humans planned would happen. He had sent emergency messages to every coalition world begging for help, but he knew no help would arrive in time. "Commander," called out a sensor officer, "the energy readings from the human ships are increasing. They appear to be forming some kind of field around our planet." Do Yun walked to the large viewing window that looked out over the capital city. Citizens were running through the streets trying to reach spaceports or underground shelters. The strange lights in the sky cast an eerie glow over everything. "Can we break through their formation?" he asked. "If we concentrate all our defense ships on one point?" The tactical officer shook his head. "We've tried, sir. 3 ships attempted to push through the line 10 minutes ago. They simply vanished when they touched the energy field." Do Yun felt a cold sense of defeat wash over him. His entire career had been built on protecting Naxos, and now he was helpless to save it. "Bring the prisoner to me again," he ordered. Perhaps understanding the humans better might help them find a way out of this trap. When Jin Woo was brought to the command center, he looked different. The defiance was gone from his eyes, replaced by fear and regret. "You wanted to see me, Commander?" he asked quietly. Do Yun pointed to the display showing the human ships. "Tell me everything you know about humans. Everything your brother told you before he died." Jin Woo stared at the display. "My brother said they were more dangerous than they appeared. He said their ship was small and looked weak, but when it fired on his patrol vessel, the weapons were like nothing he had seen before." "Did he say anything else?" pressed Do Yun. Jin Woo closed his eyes, trying to remember. He said they did not react like other species. When threatened, most beings show fear or anger. The humans showed nothing. They were calm, even as they fired their weapons. This matched what Do Yun had observed with Diplomat Kim. The human had shown no fear or anger after the assassination attempt, only calm certainty. On the flagship of the human fleet, Admiral Minho Park stood before the main control panel. His officers worked silently around him, each focused on their tasks. The dimensional collapse equipment was now at full power, creating the energy field that surrounded Naxos. "Status report," he ordered. "All systems operating at peak efficiency, Admiral," replied his second-in-command. "The dimensional envelope is stable and completely surrounds the target. Countdown shows 18 minutes remaining." Minho nodded. The plan was proceeding exactly as designed. Earth scientists had worked for decades to develop this technology, never revealing it to the Coalition or any other galactic power. "Admiral," said the communication officer, "we're receiving a direct transmission from Naxos. Commander Do Yun is requesting to speak with you personally." Minho considered for a moment. "Put him through." The screen lit up to show Do Yun's face. The Vakari commander looked tired, his 4 eyes blinking rapidly in stress. Admiral Park, said Do-yun, I am formally requesting mercy for my planet. The actions of one soldier should not condemn billions of innocent Vicari to death. Minho's face remained expressionless. Your request is noted, Commander. However, Protocol Omega cannot be stopped once activated. It was designed that way to ensure that no diplomatic pressure could prevent the consequences of attacking Earth representatives. We will offer anything, pleaded Do-yun. Resources, territory, technology. Name your price to spare our world. This is not about price or negotiation, replied Minho. This is about establishing a clear message to the galaxy. Earth will not tolerate any threat to its people. He ended the transmission and turned to his crew. Continue the countdown. No further communications from the planet. On Earth, General Sujin watched the entire exchange from the Human Defense Command Center. The large screen showed the energy field surrounding Naxos growing stronger by the minute. All systems report ready, General, said Hansol. Dimensional collapse will proceed on schedule. Sujin nodded. Has the Coalition Security Council made any further contact? Yes, General. They have issued a formal protest against our actions. They claim we are violating Coalition law by attacking a member world. Sujin almost smiled at the irony. Remind them that their own charter states clearly, an unprovoked attack on a diplomatic representative is considered an act of war against the diplomat's entire species. We are simply responding as the law allows. Hansol hesitated before asking, Do you think this response is proportional, General? An entire planet for one failed assassination attempt? Sujin turned to look at the young officer. Proportional? No, it is deliberately disproportional. When humanity first ventured into space, we discovered a harsh truth. The galaxy respects only strength and fear. Today we demonstrate both. Back on Naxos, panic had given way to a strange calm as citizens realized they could not escape. The spaceports were quiet now as all attempts to leave had failed. Families gathered in homes or public spaces, holding each other close as they watched the sky change color. In the command center, Do-yun sat at his desk, writing final messages to be sent to the Coalition archives. He wanted the galaxy to know what had happened here, even if his world was about to disappear. Jinwoo stood by the window, watching the city below. I never meant for this to happen, he said quietly. I only wanted justice for my brother. Justice, repeated Do-yun bitterly, and now we all pay for your version of justice. The timer on the main screen showed 8 minutes remaining. Do-yun looked up at the young soldier. What would you do if you could change this? Jinwoo thought for a moment. I would try to understand the humans better before judging them. My brother may have been wrong about what happened that day. I was wrong to act without knowing the full truth. A costly lesson, said Do-yun. On the human flagship, officers watched as the final minutes counted down. The dimensional collapse equipment hummed loudly, vibrating the deck beneath their feet. 5 minutes to dimensional collapse, Admiral, reported the second-in-command. Minho stood with his hands behind his back, watching the planet on the main screen. He felt no joy in what they were about to do, only grim satisfaction that Earth's security would be ensured. When this is over, he said to his crew, the galaxy will understand that humanity's peaceful appearance is a choice, not a weakness. We prefer diplomacy and cooperation, but we are capable of much more when threatened. The officers nodded in silent agreement. Most of them had families back on Earth, people they had sworn to protect. If erasing one world from existence meant that humans could travel safely among the stars, then that was a price they were willing to pay. 3 minutes to dimensional collapse, announced the computer in a calm voice. On Naxos, Do-yun received one final communication from the Coalition. Security Council. We are still attempting to negotiate with the humans, said the Meridian representative, a tall being with silver skin, but they are not responding to our transmissions. It is too late, replied Do-yun. Save yourselves. Learn from our mistake. Never underestimate humanity again. He ended the transmission and turned to Jinwoo. It seems your brother was right. After all, the humans were more dangerous than they appeared. Jinwoo nodded sadly. Yes, but not in the way I thought. Together they watched as the timer counted down the final seconds of their world's existence. 1 minute remaining. Exactly 2 hours after the assassination attempt on Diplomat Tae-ho Kim, the human fleet activated their dimensional collapse technology. The energy field that had been building around Naxos suddenly contracted. There was no explosion, no fire, no violent destruction. Instead, the planet and its moons seemed to fold inward, like paper being crumpled by an invisible hand. From observing ships at the edge of the system, it appeared as if space itself twisted and bent. For a brief moment, Naxos glowed with a strange blue light, then it was gone. Where a thriving world of billions had existed, there was now only empty space. On the human flagship, Admiral Minho Park watched in silence as the sensors confirmed the dimensional collapse was complete. His officers worked quietly at their stations, recording data and preparing the fleet for departure. Dimensional collapse successful, Admiral, reported his second-in-command. Naxos has been completely removed from normal spacetime. Minho nodded. Send confirmation to Earth Command. Tell them Protocol Omega has been successfully implemented. Yes, sir. What about the Coalition observation ships? They're requesting information about what just happened. Tell them that Earth has responded to an act of war according to Coalition law, said Minho. No further explanation is needed. The black ships of the human fleet began to fold back into their dimensional pockets, disappearing from normal space as suddenly as they had appeared. Within minutes, it was as if they had never been there at all. On Earth, General Sujin received the confirmation from Admiral Park. She turned to the Earth Defense Council, who had assembled in the command center to witness the event. Protocol Omega has been successfully implemented, she announced. Naxos no longer exists in normal spacetime. The white-haired council member who had earlier questioned the decision looked troubled. And the people? The billions of Vakari on the planet? They exist now in a pocket dimension that will gradually collapse over the next few weeks, explained Sujin. From their perspective, they have been isolated from the rest of the universe. Another council member spoke up. What happens when the pocket dimension fully collapses? Sujin's face remained expressionless. Then they will cease to exist entirely. The room fell silent as the weight of what they had done settled over them. They had removed an entire planet from existence because of the actions of one soldier. It was a terrible price, but one they had deemed necessary to ensure humanity's safety in a dangerous galaxy. Prepare a statement for the Coalition Council, ordered the head of the Earth Defense Council. Make it clear that this was our response to an act of war, and that we expect full membership in the Coalition to be approved immediately. 3 days later, representatives from all Coalition species gathered for an emergency session. The circular chamber of the Coalition headquarters on the neutral world of Meridia was filled to capacity. The disappearance of Naxos had sent shockwaves throughout the galaxy. Tae-ho Kim entered the chamber, his face calm and composed as always. He took his place at the speaker's platform, looking out at the gathered representatives. Many avoided meeting his eyes directly. Honorable representatives of the Galactic Coalition, began Tae-ho, his voice steady and clear. I stand before you today to address the events that occurred 3 days ago in the Vakari system. The chamber was completely silent. No one dared to interrupt. What happened to Naxos was regrettable but necessary, continued Tae-ho. Earth has maintained a simple policy since our first ventures into space. Diplomacy is sacred. An attack on a diplomat is an attack on Earth itself, and our response will always be proportional to what we perceive as the threat. He paused, letting his words sink in. Humanity comes in peace. We wish to join your coalition as equals and contribute our knowledge and resources to the greater good. But make no mistake, we will defend ourselves with absolute certainty and finality. The Meridian representative, the current head of the Coalition Council, stood up. Diplomat Kim, the Coalition Council has reviewed your application for membership. In light of recent events and considering Earth's obvious technological advancement, we have voted unanimously to accept Earth as a full member of the Galactic Coalition. Tae-ho bowed slightly. Earth thanks you for your wisdom. We look forward to peaceful cooperation with all coalition species. No one in the chamber mentioned that the vote had likely been influenced by fear rather than respect. No one dared to question why Earth had hidden its true capabilities for so long. No one wanted to risk becoming the next Naxos. In the months that followed, humans were welcomed throughout coalition space. They were treated with the utmost respect and courtesy. Diplomatic protocols involving human representatives were followed to the letter. Ships from all species would alter their courses to pass by the empty space where Naxos had once existed. It became a somber monument, a reminder of what happened when the rules of diplomacy were broken. 1 year after the incident, Tae-ho Kim stood at the viewport of a coalition space station, looking out at the stars. Behind him, a group of diplomats from various species waited nervously for him to join their meeting. "Diplomat Kim," said a Meridian representative cautiously, "we were hoping you might share some insights about human culture with us. We wish to ensure that all our interactions with Earth are appropriate and respectful." Tae-ho turned from the viewport and smiled slightly. "Of course. Humans value straightforward communication and honesty above all. We prefer to solve problems through discussion rather than conflict." None of the diplomats mentioned the irony of these words coming from the representative of a species that had removed an entire planet from existence. They simply nodded and listened carefully. On Earth, in a quiet garden outside the Human Defense Command Center, General Soo-jin sat with Admiral Min-ho Park. They were both out of uniform, dressed in simple civilian clothes. "The coalition has approved 3 more human colonies in the past month," said Min-ho. "No objections were raised by any species." Soo-jin nodded. "And our requests for access to coalition technology archives were granted immediately." "Do you ever think about them?" asked Min-ho suddenly. "The people of Naxos?" Soo-jin was silent for a moment before answering. "Every day, but I also think about the billions of humans who can now travel safely through the galaxy. One world for the security of our entire species. History will judge whether it was worth it." Across the stars and outposts and spaceports, a new saying emerged among coalition species. "Speak softly to humans. They carry the biggest sticks." No one knew exactly who had first said it, but everyone understood its meaning. Humans appeared peaceful, even friendly, but hidden beneath that exterior was a power that could erase worlds. In the official records of the coalition, the fate of Naxos was described simply: removed from normal space-time following a diplomatic incident with Earth representatives. It was a bland, technical description that failed to capture the horror of what had actually happened, but everyone knew the truth. Everyone remembered. And no one ever again attempted to harm a human diplomat. Earth had entered the galactic community with a terrible message. "We come in peace, but cross us at your peril." The galaxy had received that message clearly. The disappearance of Naxos ensured that it would never be forgotten. The end.